Urgent Dirty Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Dirty Birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications. So, you don't miss anything. Falcons leak $45 million condition to trade for Cousins. The Pittsburgh Steelers are doing their best to get another starting quarterback before the beginning of the 2025 season, but it is becoming harder and harder as the days go on. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Atlanta Falcons are willing to deal veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins, but they have one condition to whatever team would want to make a move for him. Atlanta has asked for any acquiring team to pay $20 million. Of the $45 million worth of guarantees left on Cousins' contract, Schefter wrote. To date, no has been willing to do that, and no team is expected to be willing to. Cousins showed flashes of still being a solid quarterback this past season, but his stats by the end of the season told a different story. The 36-year-old finished the 2024 season with 508 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and an NFL-leading 16 interceptions. Some of this comes from the fact that Cousins was coming back from an Achilles injury, and some believe he never truly regained the confidence in his right leg. And of course, he was benched late last year during a Falcons playoff run, which is a very real way killed his future trade value. The Steelers' current starting quarterback is Mason Rudolph, who has shown that he can get the job done in the past. With the drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers and this new condition the Falcons have when it comes to trading Cousins, it seems like Rudolph should be prepared for if the team calls on him to begin the 2025 regular season, at least until the Steelers see what they can do about the QB position in this week's NFL draft. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Dirty Birds news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video, thanks! Now let's get back to the news! Former Bison QB Easton Stick signs with Falcons Stick moving to Atlanta leaves Carson Wentz as only unsigned ex-Bison quarterback. Former North Dakota State quarterback Easton Stick shed his free agent status by signing with the Atlanta Falcons, formally ending 6 years with the Los Angeles Chargers. The move leaves Carson Wentz as the only unsigned former Bison QB in the NFL. Trey Lance signed with the Chargers, while it appears Wentz is moving on from Kansas City. Stick, presumably, will be the backup to starter Michael Penix Jr., with veterans Kirk Cousins still on the roster. If that combo remains, it appears Stick would compete with Emory Jones for the No. 3 quarterback job. The Falcons' off-season program began Tuesday. Falcons forge a defensive identity in latest PFN 7-round mock draft. We're almost to the draft, and the mocks are arriving. At a defensive consensus for Atlanta's picks. Welcome to the final stretch, Atlanta Falcons fans. After months of mental gymnastics and agonizing over this year's draft class, the 2025 NFL Draft will be open in only a matter of days. After pulling off one of the most shocking draft moments in recent memory in the 2024 Draft, one of the questions surrounding the Falcons is how they will follow up that act in 2025 will. They stay conservative and stick to consensus, or do they have one more trick up their sleeve? According to Pro Football Network's Ian Cummings, Atlanta does the seemingly impossible task of somehow doing both, while also finding a semblance of a defensive identity. Leave it to the Falcons. Point 15. Will Johnson, CB, Michigan. We know the Atlanta. Falcons' first-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft has to be defense, but nailing down the specific position isn't as simple. There's a void on the interior, a startling lack of impact players at edge, and uncertainty in the secondary. It may come down to value. In this 2025 NFL mock draft, Johnson is the best remaining prospect at a position of need for the Falcons. His injury-impacted 2024 campaign has soured his stock a bit, but he's still a top-flight coverage defender with vision, coverage malleability, and ball skills. Snagging a cornerback with the instincts and coverage ability of Johnson in the middle of the round would usually be a perfect solution. Johnson fills a need as the corner on the other side of A.J. Terrell and pushes each corner. In the room down a notch, Mike Hughes, coming off the bench, is a much better value than Hughes as CB2. But you can't help but wonder about the potential opportunity cost of taking Johnson over the edge rushers in this class, like Mike Green and Michael Williams. Notable players still on board: Marshall edge Mike Green, Texas A&M edge Shamar Stewart, Georgia S. Malachi Starks, Georgia edge Michael Williams, 46, Nick Emenwari. South Carolina, Nick Emenwari needs to improve his run support diagnosis, but he's a tantalizing complement to Jesse Bates III with his coverage mobility and closing burst at his size. Here was the potential issue with going with a cornerback in the first round. Terry Fontenot doesn't have the usual ammunition to work with for his patented second-round trade-up, so he's forced to sit and watch names like Nick Scarton, JT Twimolo, and Landon Jackson fly off the board right in front of them. With no other front seven players they love here, they build the defense. From back to front, solidifying the other safety spot across from Bates. Is it conventional? No, football is a physical game. Building from the trenches back usually yields better results. However, Emenwari is a rare athlete who should allow Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich to have a bit more leeway to utilize Bates as a weapon on the back end. On notable players still on board: Boston College edge Donovan Ezerwaku, LSU edge Braden Swinson, Ole Miss edge Princely Umanmielen, Texas S. Andrew Mukuba, Notre Dame CB Benjamin Morrison, 118, Jordan Phillips, DT, Maryland grabbing a defensive tackle in Phillips that doesn't add pass rush juice is certainly a choice. But the Falcons need bodies across the defensive line. Phillips does give you a compact, explosive athlete who could give offensive linemen some trouble with his block-shedding ability. Phillips knows how to use his smaller frame to his advantage, similar to former Falcon Grady Jarrett, even though he's not the same athlete as Jarrett. Notable players still on board: Louisville edge Ashton Galat, Alabama edge Quay Robinson, UConn OT Chase Lunt, Georgia DL Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, 218 Kyle McCourt QB. Syracuse, the Falcons could use another quarterback in the room in case Kirk Cousins decides he doesn't want to hold the clipboard on the sidelines next season. Kyle McCord showed an attack mode last season at Syracuse that was not present in his time at Ohio State. He isn't the most athletic option at the position, but he does have the arm strength to air the ball out and has enough deep ball accuracy to make his aggressive approach to the position worthwhile. He led the country last season in passing yards, with the difference between him and Cam Ward in second being more than the difference between Ward and Dylan Gabriel in eighth. Notable players still on board: Georgia Tech DT Zeke Biggers, Oklahoma State LB Colin Oliver, Rutgers OT Holland Pierce, 242 Johnny Walker, Edge Missouri. There you have it. Falcons fans, your 2025 NFL Draft Edge Rusher. Not to be confused with the whiskey, Johnny Walker Jr. has some serious power in his paws, generated from those nearly 33-inch arms he has on his 62 frame. Combine that with a good motor and some nice bend around the edge, and Walker could contend for a spot on the roster. His athleticism at least makes him a good candidate for some special teams work. Notable players still on board: Colorado WR LeJontay Wester, Oregon CB Jabbar Muhammad, Tennessee WR Brew McCoy, Florida State CB Fentrell Cypress II, Georgia DL Nazir Stackhouse. What do you think of this class? Jalen Ramsey trade to Falcons makes too much sense not to happen. Jalen Ramsey will likely be on the move soon. Jalen Ramsey has been no stranger to trades. After a stellar career in Jacksonville, the 5th overall pick was traded to the eventual Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. 4 years later, he was shipped to the Miami Dolphins. Now, 3 years later, it sounds like he is done in South Florida. When looking at teams who could trade for him, the Atlanta Falcons are first on the list. They have the need and the connections, making this potential too obvious not to happen. Atlanta Falcons and Raheem Morris will aggressively pursue Dolphins CB Jalen Ramsey. After the Atlanta Falcons hired Raheem Morris as their head coach last year, one player made it known what he thought of the move Jalen Ramsey. The two sides were together for a few seasons in Los Angeles when Morris was the Rams' defensive coordinator. This respect isn't one-sided. The Falcons' head coach has often praised his former cornerback, so why wouldn't we think the Falcons would pursue the Dolphins' cornerback? Pairing him with A.J. Terrell gives this team one of their best cornerback duos in franchise history. It takes pressure off the safeties and new defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. Two things are working against them: money and draft picks. The Falcons aren't flush with cap space, and trading for Ramsey would cost $21.1 million. Terry Fontenot would need to get creative, likely using restructures. Then you have the fact that the Dirty Birds only have 5 picks in the 2025 draft if they want. To make this move this week, it will further drain their resources. Ramsey's value is right around a 4th-round pick, well worth it for a player of his caliber. Hopefully, the Falcons will wait until next week and send a 2026 pick. Altogether, Raheem Morris and Jalen Ramsey's relationship makes the Atlanta Falcons a prime destination for the future Hall of Fame cornerback. And now, Dirty Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Dirty
Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Dirty Birds news. ATL, rise up.